Hello, I'm Duncan Calvert, the President of the Students' Representative Council, the representative body for all students at the University of Glasgow. Today I'm joined by the university's new Principal and Vice-Chancellor, Professor Andy Schofield, and we're here to have a conversation about the issues that matter most to students. So, Andy, before we get into it, it's been 2 months in the new role. I just wanted to ask you how you're settling in and how you're finding it so far.
Duncan, thank you. Actually, it's really only been 4 weeks. I've been here for
That's
two.
true.
I've been here for 2 months, and had the pleasure of a month without being in the role, but just seeing how things work. And we had a chance to meet during that time. But honest answer, I'm loving it. This is a hugely impressive place. The university is fantastic. Of course, it's big. I've only met and scratched the surface of the place, as you can imagine. But I've been really impressed with all the things that are going on, genuinely excited about the future. But also it's a pleasure to get to know the city. I didn't know the city of Glasgow before I came here, but just the chance to kind of be energized by a new place, relocate, and thoroughly enjoying it and looking forward to it. Not without challenge, of course, but plenty to get my teeth into and plenty to know and understand, and lots of new people, which I'm enjoying particularly.
Fantastic. Speaking of challenge, you'll know the SRC has acted as a critical friend to the university over many interests, over many generations
Yeah.
of students. I just wanted to ask, as the new principal, how do you see this relationship continuing under your leadership?
Yeah, I think you're celebrating 140 years.
That's true.
You don't look it, but 140 years is a really impressive length of time to have that kind of connection to represent the student body. And I do see that as a vital part of the life of this university. I mean, the students are at the heart and at the core of the university, of course, and how me coming in as new principal, engage with the student body through the SRC is going to be really important to me. And I think that critical friend probably sums it up very well. Yes, there'll be criticism. I'm sure there'll be difficult conversations when you will be putting things to me that I need to take seriously, things maybe that we're getting wrong, hopefully things that we're getting right as well. Done so in the context of, both of us come to work each day hoping to do a good job for the university and with that spirit behind it. So I very much see that as a partnership.
Absolutely. I mean, that working relationship is very important to the both of us. Just remaining collaborative and cooperating where we can, but also being that challenge.
Yeah. I'm really interested to kind of hear from you about what, for you, both as SRC president, but also, as a student, I've been a student here, what makes this place the good place to be? What do you boast about that I'm going to be able to boast about the university?
Yeah, so Glasgow student life is kind of, compared to the rest of the institutions in Scotland, we have a really rich student life. You'll know, Andy, that we have not just one student organisation, but four. More than 400 clubs and societies, including sports clubs, loads of volunteering hours that students put in.
Yeah.
It's just a massive wealth and breadth of things for students to get involved in and do on campus. We also have, our T&E campuses abroad, so it's not just a student experience in Scotland and on the Gilmore Hill campus, but also in places like Singapore and China. So definitely, just on that point of the student experience at Glasgow, obviously we're having this interview at the same time as we're thinking about the university's new strategy and what that'll look like in the decade ahead. Just to ask your opinion as the new principal and vice chancellor, where do you see the student experience fitting into that new strategy for the university?
Well, it's got to be front and center. It's one of the main things we do as a university is to educate, to welcome, and to give opportunity to the student body. And so I really see that as running right the way through what we have in the strategy that puts the student at the center of the activity that we do. I think where we've got to at the moment, it is an evolving strategy, and a lot of work has gone taking opinions of what needs to be in it and then having those opinions challenged. I think where we're at the moment, which is still quite a long way from a finished strategy, there's more that needs to go in that puts the student at the heart of university life. And I think it's certainly something that I feel very strongly about. I really want this university and the strategy to talk about how we can be proud of this university. And that's proud of it, whether you're a staff member, a student here, an alum looking back on time here, or a member of the city who looks up at the university on the hill. If all of us are saying, I'm really proud of this place, then we will have achieved something. And I think for a student to feel proud of the university, they would want that strategy to talk about the quality of the education they get, but more than that. And so hearing you talk about what it's like to be a student with all the opportunities, the complexities and intricacies of all the clubs and societies that are run, that all of that adds together to make something that the university can and should be proud of. And it's more of that we need to put in place.
Absolutely. It's important that both students and staff feel that they can have pride in the organisation.
Yeah.
But it's also important for students to feel like they are being supported by
Yes.
the university. Student support is obviously a key component of that student experience.
Yeah.
Students, in the national context are facing challenges with, the rising cost of living,
Yeah.
accessibility, mental health provision, and of course, academic flexibility in their learning and teaching experience on campus.
Yeah.
Just how do you plan on, where do you see the support for these kind of issues moving under your leadership?
Yeah. I mean, it's early days, so I can't make a judgment on where we are historically, but back to that point I made around the strategy, that if the student is at the heart of it, it means that allowing students to flourish in the university means considering not just what we teach and how we teach it, but that whole experience where the challenges of cost of living, some of the mental health challenges that people have, the balancing of responsibility, students who are commuter students who are living in the area, and their experience of university is from a home environment as opposed to people who've travelled right across the world to be here and study. All of those things, if one looks at it through the lens of how does each of those students with their differing backgrounds, differing challenges, get the most out of their experience, what is the university doing to support them and to bring about that thriving environment? That's the lens at which I look at it through. It means, for example, that we will need to think carefully about very practical things around timetabling so that people can make the most of the education we've offered without too many clashes. Now, of course, the challenge with that is that may mean a compromise on choice.
Yep.
Mental health support, where can we ensure that our students feel supported, that we all recognize the signs of a student who needs more support and can help them with that. Balancing that with the recognition that we also want the National Health Service to play its part as professionals in that space. And so I think it's going to be important for the university to be able to reach out to the broader networks that will supply and support students. And then there is issues around wellbeing more generally, but also around finance and how we can support students in particular need, and being, as we have been historically, successful at attracting students whose background, whose experience of education has been perhaps challenged by the postcode they were born in. How can we be an inclusive place for those people to thrive, worrying less about the money and worrying more about how they're succeeding here? None of it's easy. It's back to your observation at the start of being a critical friend to the university, of pointing out where we're getting it wrong and where we could be better, recognizing that we don't have infinite resources to do it. So how do we best put those resources in the right place? So I anticipate that over the course of this year and beyond, it'll be a subject that we will probably come back to when we meet, of things that we're perhaps doing, and I would like feedback on things that we think we're doing well. Are they working, as well as the things that maybe aren't going so well, where we could be better.
I think that's right, Andy. I think it's heartening to hear about your views about the traditional student versus the non-traditional student, that there's no such thing as a traditional student anymore. Our student population has diversified rapidly since the era pre-pandemic, and it's really important that we get that right for include all of our student groups in how we move forward on student support. Just moving on, there's also strong interest amongst the students about adopting clear policies and principles of accountability in university around handling of gender-based violence cases. There's also growing support across the student organisations for the university to adopt the Emily test. As principal, do you agree that universities should adopt a set of principles, a charter of principles that would hold us accountable, and how would you seek to move that forward if so?
Yes, thank you. And actually, harking back to our first meeting, you made clear that this was a priority for you, and I hadn't come across the Emily test before, but actually, in no small measure due to your pointing it out to me, I then I met with Fiona Druitt in the broader context with principals of Scottish institutions, and I'm very interested in how we can take that forward. Obviously, historically, we've had the Ross report, which has put some recommendations in place, quite a long list of recommendations, which the university is acting on, and I need to see those follow through. But on the basis of that dialogue with Fiona, I am interested in taking this further with the Emily test. It seemed to me from that conversation that the next stage is to think about joining the network, which allows you to perhaps have a deeper dialogue with the Emily test organisation. So I've suggested that that's the next step that we might want to take about taking this forward. So it's a really important matter.
Absolutely. I think that's really positive to hear. Thank you, Andy. So, Andy, another area that has been of interest to the student body is obviously the area of divestment and the university's management of its investment portfolio. The university has not fully divested despite strong support from students, and of course in the context of the SRC referendum last session, which showed that an overwhelming majority of students support the university divesting from arms and defence. Could you, for the viewer's benefit, explain the university's current position on divestment and how student voices will be factored into future discussions in this area?
Yeah. Well, first of all, again, this is not the first time this has been raised with me by you, and the university's position, and it's good to point that out, that it is a university position, meaning it has come from the court of the university. So while I am responsible for the running of the university, I'm myself responsible to court for many of those strategic decisions and decisions of policy. And yes, the court has considered this over, at least as I understand it, a year, and has made divestment decisions in the past as well. And has taken, as I understand it, very serious consideration of both the student view and the staff view as well. It's come to the conclusion, and court has a mixed view on it, so it I think voted on this issue, and so by majority decided that it wasn't right for the university to have a blanket policy of divestment from the defence sector, for reasons perhaps I'll touch on just a second, but did recognise that as a university we want to be socially responsible in what we do, consistent in our investment with a set of agreed positions, UN priorities, for example, sustainable development goals, etc. And so it does have a socially responsible investment policy, and that policy can be tested by a working group, which I think you're now on.
Yep.
Which means that while we're not having a blanket policy of divesting from a particular sector, individual companies, individual types of investment can be challenged, as in brought forward. Do these meet our more positive goals of what we're trying to do as a university? Coming back to that issue as to why the defence sector is one that we haven't got a blanket policy to divest from, I think it's recognising the fact that views vary, and, for example, government priorities increasingly are to see that sector as an important part both of the economy, and Glasgow in particular, of course, has significant defence sector companies working in it, but also part of the elected government's responsibility of the defence of the nation. And for the university to put a blanket statement out saying that the whole sector is one that we have a particular view on, I think recognising the elected government's position would be inconsistent with some of the other things that we do around academic freedom for our researchers to research and partner with legitimate companies going about their business. So it's a kind of difference between making a sector-wide decision versus the very specific things about should be investing in this company or that. As it is, the portfolio, I think, is managed by external companies that we tender for. That is, that they need to demonstrate to us that the way our money, the money that people have left the university over many years, is being used in a way and invested in things that are positive and responsible. That is something that is out for tender at the moment, as I understand it. It will always be contentious, but then I suppose universities wouldn't be the places they are if people didn't have differing views and came together to tease those things out.
And that's one of those areas, of course, the SRC has a different opinion to that of the university, but it's one of those areas that we'll continue to have constructive conversations about how we move forward on our investments.
And just to be clear, your voice in that has come across loud and clear. You sit on the court, and we'll have your voice heard as it already has been.
The university is about to celebrate its 575th anniversary, and you've joined us at a bit of a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
So what excites you most about leading the university right now in this point in its history?
Yeah. Well, there's so much to be excited about, and as intimated right at the start of the conversation, I love it here. But this is a university which can look back on a phenomenal history. I mean, 575 years, there are not many things, let alone universities, that have lasted that long. But I think just as exciting is that future, students coming here, putting their trust in the university's hands to take them forward, people who will go out from this university and change the world. That's what Glasgow's done in the past. Being a tiny part of that history is really important to me. But I think about the opportunities to transform the world with the research that we do. We're living in a place where the outcomes for health are quite variable depending on where you're born. That's something that the university's got a lot to say, right the way through to some of the big science that's taking place in Glasgow, right at the heart of it, the gravitational wave discovery, which it's celebrating its 10th birthday. Glasgow is right at the heart of that discovery. And there are so many more things where you just have to turn on the radio, look on the web, and you'll see stories of this place really changing the world. And so it's that opportunity for me to be a part of something that is genuinely world changing. I know that's our strap line, but actually I believe it.
It's true.
And it's exciting. But at the heart of that is people, and the heart of the people are the staff that we've got and the students that we support and that will go out to change the world in so many different capacities. And I just love it if people, looking back on their time as graduates of this great university, go, I made a difference. And Glasgow made a difference to me in my life. That's what excites me, and the privilege of meeting people years down the track who come and say, that place that you work for, that really made a difference to me. That's the buzz that I get out of this job.
Absolutely fantastic. Okay, thank you so much, Professor Schofield, for joining us today.
It's Andy.
Andy, I'm sorry, and having this discussion about the issues that matter to us students. We're looking so forward to working collaboratively with you in the years ahead, rather, extended past myself. And but yeah, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Duncan, thank you for the opportunity to chat.